Is anti-Zionism really anti-Semitism? Is it necessarily anti-Semitism? Is criticizing the Israeli government necessarily anti-Semitic? In this interview, Amjad Taha, who is a political strategist and analyst from United Arab Emirates, lays out some very crystal clear parameters that define and clarify whether or not anti-Zionism or criticism of the Israeli government is anti-Semitic. Let's have a listen.
Currently, who like to have a cause. Amjad, can you tell them briefly about Sudan and the 15th of April 2023?
Yeah, I mean, if you're protesting and you care about humanity and you care about the numbers also, then how come you're not protesting about what happened since the 15th of April, right before October, 15 April 2023? Sudan, Muslim Brotherhood-led army has been striking the people of Sudan and the opponent group of the army. And the Muslim Brotherhood-led army actually has killed more than 80,000 people, including children and women, and starving more than 5 million, according to the United Nations. 5 million people are suffering from starvation, including 200,000 of those, according to the United Nations. They may die because of starvation. There is more than 10 million were forcibly displaced from Sudan by the Muslim Brotherhood-led army. Why there is no protest about this? Why there is no post about this? Literally. Why? Black lives doesn't matter? It matters. African lives matter. Yes, Arab lives matter. Muslim lives matter. But you ignored it.
Why do you think people are ignoring it?
Because they're anti-Semites, as simple as that. It's crystal clear. If you're ignoring all that atrocities and you're not saying much about it, that's Sudan. What about Iran? Yesterday, a woman in Iran, she protested in the street. How much of those feminists what did they do about her? How much support did they show? It's a question of morals and values. If you care about humanity, then where is your voices here? And if you care also about the people of Gaza and the Palestine, then you should raise your voice against Hamas because they harm the cause. And you should also raise the picture of baby Kafir and the other babies, which are the hostages, as much as you care about the children of Gaza. If you care about humanity, you have to present it that way. Otherwise, and it's crystal clear, you're just another anti-Semites.
I mean, go argue with that, right? It's crystal clear. It's true that there has been a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering and tragic death in Gaza over the past year and change since October 7th. There's no question about that. It didn't have to happen. Hamas did not have to do what they did on October 7th. And every human death is a tragedy, period. End of story. But the fact that a human death is tragic doesn't mean that context is irrelevant. Now, if people are out in the streets protesting and shutting down university campuses and shutting down streets because they're so worried about the tens of thousands of people who have reportedly, according to Hamas statistics, been killed in Gaza over the past year and change, many of whom, to whatever degree is a question for another time, but many of whom are women and children, innocent people. If you're arguing about that, if you're shutting down university campuses and shutting down highways, arguing because you're protesting the death of these innocent people, but when double as many people were slaughtered in Sudan by the Muslim Brotherhood, and 5 times the entire population of the entire Gaza were forcibly displaced from their homes by the Muslim Brotherhood in Sudan, and more than double the entire population of the entire Gaza is starving, If that's the only thing that you're if Gaza's the only thing protesting about, but all of that's happening in Sudan, and you don't make a peep? If when Syria has been in a state of war, where every single year for 13, 14 years straight, consecutively, without a break, more civilians have died every year for more than a decade continuously, every year more people than have died, that more civilians have been murdered in Syria than the number of people who've been killed in Gaza in total, and you didn't make a peep? I'm sorry, but, you know, cry me a river. What can I say? Now, if someone is completely uninformed and they had no idea that this was happening in Syria, but if they would have known, they would have actually gone out and protested the same way. And if they had had any idea about Sudan, they would have actually gone out and protested the same way genuinely. Then, you know what? Good for them. Fair enough. At least they're consistent, and at least they mean it genuinely. And that's on the media. Because it's nobody's fault that they have no idea about any of this that's happening, because the media doesn't care. Right? And Amjad Taha points it out here very clearly. If criticizing the Israeli government is an anti-Semitism, and hypothetically being anti-Zionist, maybe not anti-Semitic. But if you get all upset and all worked up and you're protesting and shutting things down over what's going on in Gaza, but when it's anywhere else in the world the same and or worse, you don't make a peep, find another way to explain it other than anti-Semitism. Yeah, I mean, no Jews, no news. That's nothing new. We all know that. If the only time you care about tragedy is when you have the ability to blame it on Jews, but when there are other tragedies of equal or greater proportion, sometimes occurring continuously for more than a decade running, and you don't have a word to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, cry me a river, and yeah, call me skeptical, but I think you're anti-Semitic. Go find another way to explain it. Go find another way. Convince Amjad that there's a reason why you care about Gaza, but you don't care about Sudan, and you don't care about the innocent people in Syria, etc. Find another way to explain it other than anti-Semitism. Or ignorance, in which case it's the fault of the media's anti-Semitism. But one way or another, it's anti-Semitism on someone's part.